All right, everybody, here's an immediate reaction to Ahsoka Episode 5. So just so you know, I actually just did a full reaction to this with the footage, all of that. Hopefully it's up by tomorrow morning. But I just watched it, literally just finished it. And now here I am talking about it with you. And non-spoiler, don't worry. All I'll say is it definitely delivered on some nostalgia, some emotional moments. Absolutely. And there's a lot of questions that still were not answered. I'll tell you that right now. There were a couple times I'm like, wait, I don't understand what's going on. How did that happen? Did you explain it? And they don't really explain it. But what I really liked about it, I'll tell you this, is that it's still focused on the main plot. And I thought that they could have gotten away with not doing that in this episode, of just doing, hey, remember this type of stuff and remember that type of stuff and remember this. And they didn't have to do that because they still furthered the plot of the ultimate storyline of what's happening with finding Thrawn, doing all of that, and they played that out really well. So I liked that element for sure. The standouts, I can't tell you everybody who's the standout, but if you watched episode 5, or excuse me, if you watched episode 4 and you're watching this, I'm going to give you a brief spoiler. So there you go. Hayden Christensen is fantastic in this episode. Fantastic in this episode. He is so good. So good. I'll leave it at that until I get into the full spoiler conversation tomorrow. Obviously, Rosario Dawson, but as I've been saying the entire season, Kevin Kiner is the star. What he does in this particular episode with the music, there's a piece, what I've always said that's so good about him is he adds his original music and adds a tone and feel to every show that he does, but he still pays homage and pays respect to certain themes that John Williams did and what made Star Wars special. There's a particular thing that he did that I've been waiting for all these shows to do, and he did it. It was subtle, it was beautiful, and it was great. And obviously Dave Filoni, who wrote and directed the episode, you can tell this was his vision to be able to bring this episode. This is, I mean, it is an episode of Rebels for sure. I mean, it really is. And I know people are like, oh, you gotta stop saying that. Fine. But not enough to where it loses you at all. There's a lot of references and things that had happened that you're like, oh, well, that must have happened in Rebels, but I can figure it out and follow it now. And they did that pretty well. So, like I said, I think that the first half of this episode is what everybody's going to be talking about. And everybody's going to be like, you know, the main reactions when you're going to check people out, you're going to be saying, well, how did they react to that particular thing? And then the second half of it is furthering the plot. There are a couple of times that I thought, and it's the same thing I think that criticism that some people had in episode 1 with Filoni style is, I don't mind this, but I can see where people are going to critique it. He holds on some shots for a while. There is a moment at the very end where it's like, all right, we got it, let's move. But then at the same time, you're like, well, they really want to sit in this moment. So I can see it going either way. I was on the opposite, the latter side, where I'm sitting there watching, going, I'm really in this moment. I understand the way that they set this up. Take your time. When you're ready, oh, here we go. I can see where some people are like, all right, we got it. Like, he's holding on a shot for a while. Move. Very curious where you guys lie. Nonetheless, this episode delivered. It absolutely, I think, lived up to the hype. And now it really sets up the end game, if you will. The last 6, 7, and 8, I think, are going to be the final. It obviously is the final, but it's going to be, it led up to, actually, it's always felt like this one big movie. This was another chapter in it. So I'm very curious, what did you guys think? Did you think it lived up to the hype? Were you disappointed by it? Go ahead, let me know in the comments. If you're brand new to the channel, you've never been here, show a little class. Will you hit that button? Subscribe to the channel, help us out. We're at 92,000. We can get to 100, but we need your help. So hit the button. We got a lot of different things here. Just a whole bunch of One Piece reactions. I got this for a reaction coming out tomorrow. I'm going to do a spoiler on this. Tomorrow's Ahsoka day. I'm going to do a lot of Ahsoka stuff tomorrow, and reviews, all that. Thanks for joining us. See you on the flip side.